the best available is now off the table. Jadon Canady, one of the top nickel corners in the country, a really versatile defensive back who's been on the scene for a while now, is on his way to Oregon, and the Ducks just continue to load up for next season and in what's looking like the sort of year where they're going all hands on deck.
Yeah, real interesting considering the time this guy was in the portal. So he was a guy that all SEC votes, second team all SEC by some publications. So a known commodity, started last year for Ole Miss, one of the top teams in the country, sitting in the portal for almost 2 months. And then Oregon, which has the top ranked portal class in terms of quality, average recruit ranking in the portal, ends up landing him. And look, the reasons are obvious. First of all, they're in win now mode. This is a 1-year eligibility player. He's going to help right away. But when you dig a little deeper, Canady, even though he transferred from Ole Miss after 2 years, originally played 2 years at Tulane. Who was there when he was at Tulane? Chris Hampton, Oregon's defensive backs coach. So that's really the connection between Canady and Oregon, is that his coach at Tulane, Chris Hampton, is now at Oregon. Saw him play, saw what he could do, and what he could do is provide a versatile skill set. Just watch him last year at Ole Miss. Really, his first full year at Ole Miss, was injured in 2023 for most of the season. This year, plays basically the whole season, nickel, outside, box, even some safety. So this is a player who can play all along the defensive backfield. Not the biggest guy in the world, under 180 pounds, but has some athleticism, ran track in high school, has some coverage ability, has some toughness, and more than anything has experience playing at a high level in the Southeastern Conference.
And you look at the numbers here, as you mentioned, his first 2 years at Tulane. As a freshman, burst onto the scene, 2 interceptions, actually hasn't had a pick since, which is interesting, but that's not the part of his game that's interesting to me. It's just he's always around the football. 55 tackles his freshman year when, look, he's not the biggest guy in the world, listed at 5'11", 185, but he's never going to be a physically imposing force on the field. But what he is has a high football IQ. He is twitchy, but just always seems to be around the football, has a knack for the ball. And you see, great freshman season, was hurt in 2023, his first year at Ole Miss. And then last season, 11 pass breakups in that star position for Ole Miss. A huge number there. It just shows you just has a way of always being around the ball and getting his hands on it.
Yeah, that 185 surprised me. I thought he was under 180. You met him in person. Is that...
Yeah, I mean, look, when I met him maybe 3 years ago, I think it was lighter than that. That was 3 years ago. So,
right.
So that was,
we'll give him 185. I apologize.
A lot can change. I
apologize.
In 3 years in a college weight room program, especially he was at that time going from Tulane to Ole Miss, so he was not in that SEC weight room program. But either way, again, that doesn't take away from the fact that I don't think if you're an Oregon fan, you shouldn't be expecting a guy who's again, a physically imposing force, but that does not mean he can't play the game at a very high level.
Sorry, Jadon, didn't mean to undersell you on the weight. Jacksonville native from Sandalwood High School, a school that produces a lot of players, most of whom, a lot of whom go to the SEC. So not a ton of Jacksonville presence for the Oregon Ducks, but that's what they are doing under Dan Lanning. They're going all over the country, whether it's high school or the portal. A lot of young defensive backs entering the Oregon Ducks program from all over the country. So there's going to be some competition there. But I think when you look at the nickel position, the star position, experience matters. And Canady's experience at that particular position, along with the versatility to fill gaps elsewhere, will get him on the field. And this is a team with Oregon. Look, yes, he's a 1-year player. Is he going to be blocking some of your 5-star, 4-stars? Maybe. But you didn't meet all your goals this year, even with a phenomenal season. So I don't think developing young players is going to come at the expense of trying to win now and bringing in a talented player like Canady. Interesting that it took 2 months, considering the connection with Hampton. But I think they really just wanted to see how things fell, and they still had that need before spring practice and decided, let's get this thing going.
And this is interesting. This is a tweet from 2022 here. As Devin Jackson said, always keep an eye on the future. Tulane safety / nickelback Jadon Canady already displays high level flashes of footwork, patience, ball skills to be a future NFL draft prospect. And I remember this game. This is against Oklahoma on the road, made a couple big plays. You see him here. The pen is on his spot there, and he makes an amazing play on the ball for one of his 2 picks on the season. And then as the tape keeps rolling here, I believe this was a play made on Desmond Ridder at Cincinnati. Here's Oklahoma game again, him coming up and showing some of that physicality and willingness. This is Desmond Ridder at Cincinnati. So this is him making a play here behind the line of scrimmage. Just goes to show you this guy's played a lot of ball. He's been around, but a really, again, a nice piece for Oregon that you can just slot in there and expect to be a guy who's always around the ball and someone who is disruptive in that secondary.
Yeah, finished 4th in the state in the 300 hurdles in the state of Florida. Also ran the 200 time below 23. So he has some speed. Is it going to be, a Naeem Offer type athlete? No, this is just going to be someone who brings veteran experience, versatility, and more than anything, IQ and instincts and familiarity with how Coach Hampton likes to coach. So I think there's a good move. Oregon had a top 10 pass defense in the nation last year. I would expect that to continue.
So